Okay, so this is the third episode of the podcast. It's been a really crazy week. um, but we're just going to jump right into it because I have other stuff to do, okay? Okay, so this week I wanted to talk about the movie. I know we keep talking about movies, but we have a whole semester, so I feel like I have time to expand my horizons later, which I do plan to do. But for today, we're talking about the movie Pirates, Band of Misfits, another Aardman classic, and another classic from my own childhood. Funny how I now am realizing how much of it is Aardman. And also, in America, it's called Pirates, Band of Misfits, but in the UK, it's called Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists. I like Band of Misfits more, but I guess Adventure with Scientists is more to the point. I don't know. They're both decent, but it's a Aardman animation movie, film rather, and it follows the pirate captain. That's his actual name. That's what he's listed as in the credits, and his crew as they try to win the Pirate of the Year award because little pirate island has a pirate king, and they're basically just all in a fraternity together where they show off all of the treasure that they loot from other ships. And it's just one big pissing contest, honestly, but it's so fun to watch because that's how pirates be. And the plot is basically pirate captain and his crew kind of suck at being pirates. So every year they enter this competition and they never win, but this year something is different because they find and interact with Charles Darwin, who discovers that their parrot is actually the thought to be extinct dodo. And so shenanigans ensue. He tries to show it at a scientific discovery competition or thing, and the prize, he says, is untold riches, but the actual prize is him getting to meet his crush, the Queen Elizabeth, which good for him for setting his sights high, like his standards high, but he's kind of a wet blanket. Like he's just a little too pathetic. And in this movie, Elizabeth is just so far above his pay grade. Like he's just a wet noodle of a man, really. But to get more into it, um, just like the previous Aardman animation movie that I talked about with Wallace and Gromit, this one is just very fun. It's very silly. The humor has a wit about it that is common to see in Aardman animations, common to see I think in British cartoons in general. It's a more subdued sense of humor than American, I think, in general. And it's just a delight. It's fun to just put on as a fun watch. The voice actors took me out because uh Pirate Captain, the main character, our protagonist, is voiced by Hugh Grant. Who would have thought? And then his right hand man, his number two, whose name is Pirate with a Scarf because he's a pirate with a scarf. The names don't get much more complicated than this. He's voiced by Martin Freeman, which I love. And then Charles Darwin, the said before wet noodle of a man, is voiced by David Tennant, which I did not know. Like in this part of my life where I'm watching so much stuff with David Tennant in it, it just so happens that I've been watching him for longer than I thought. And that's crazy because it does not sound like David Tennant at all. Like, good for him because that just means it's good voice acting. But it's just a delight to hear the voice come out of this plasticine animated man and think to myself, that's the same person who played Crowley from Good Omens. And just try to deal with the cognitive dissonance that occurs after I have that thought. But it's a lot of fun now. I think just as fun as it was when I watched it as a child. As a the wee baby. The themes involved, as a kids' film is wont to do, to have a message, a moral message. The journey that Pirate Captain goes on is pretty simplistic, pretty common now, at least, is that he grapples with feeling less than, feeling like he's not doing it, like he's not reaching his full potential. Like everyone makes fun of him. He's really the odd one out. Him and his crew in this fraternity of pirates, and he tries to grapple with the fact that once he's presented with a chance to win all of their like validation, the cost is his beloved parrot slash dodo Polly, which is basically his little pet. Like if she's like a rabid little chihuahua that you love so much, but also why do you have it? But you love him to death. And once you put it in that lens, it's like he sold his pet for untold riches, and in the end, it didn't even matter because at that point in the film, he had got the riches. Obviously, he sold them. He sold Polly to Queen Elizabeth, thinking that she would just be in a really good like petting zoo, because that was the lie that Queen Elizabeth told him, because she is horrible, like girl boss, but also horrible. So he sold Polly to the Queen for a buttload of money so he could enter and win Pirate of the Year, because they choose the winner based on who gets the most treasure. And it so they're interacting peacefully at this point, even though she is very vocal about her hatred towards pirates. So at this point in the story, she has pardoned him of all his piratical crimes. And it just is so sad because in retrospect, obviously, if you're pardoned, you can't still be Pirate of the Year, and that's what the rest of the pirates come to the conclusion of. Like, yeah, you have the most money, but also you were pardoned, so get the hell out of here. So it wasn't even worth it. It wasn't even worth losing your beloved pet. That's what the real sticker is. Oh, really, it's just a bummer. And all the rest of the characters think so too. It's like after they discover that, they literally just leave the pirate captain, and we have a little montage of him just being sad in the streets for I don't know how long, an indeterminable amount of time. I would say like maybe a couple days to a week, but he's literally just alone in the streets of London. Too piratey to get a job, but not piratey enough to be kicked out of London. So it's a really sad situation. But then he's like, okay, he finds that resolve that the hero always does in the hero's journey. He resolves to fix his mistake and grow as a character, as a person. So he goes to save Polly from the petting zoo, but plot twist, she was never in a petting zoo. She was being taken to the Queen's secret society of elitist diners, because they catch the most exotic and endangered animals to eat because they're rich and royal and they suck. I feel like that is also kind of a theme. Rich people suck, especially if they're part of a monarchy. Except Princess Diana. Rest in peace. There's really not much else to say other than, a lot of similar things to when I talked about Wallace and Gromit, is that, I talked about the art in the last, talking about Wallace and Gromit, how the stop motion is just so fascinating to me as a, like, as a consumer of entertainment and also as an artist. Yeah, I can appreciate both sides of it. It's like that took immense dedication, but also it's fun and silly and like a good time. And it's also just very nostalgic for me personally. So that's another thing. Uh, I don't think there's like a major overarching theme. It's very simple. I would say if there was a theme, it would be don't take what you have for granted looking for stuff that you think you want, which I feel like is very common kids film moral to put in, is like you're consumed with your lust for what you think you want, which whether it be fame or money or just general validation from other people in society. You usually have what you need, and you oftentimes lose it trying to get what you think you want. Don't want that. You want found family and ham night. That's what you really want. I will also say that many people have made this connection already, but I think that this film walked so that Our Flag Means Death could run. I will not be explaining myself. And if you don't know what Our Flag Means Death is, get on that shit because season 2 is about to come out and I need more people to hype this show up so we get 5 more seasons, okay? Okay. Maybe I'll start talking about that instead. Because now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm also kind of thinking about the fact that the inherent romanticism of a captain and his right hand man. There's so much stuff that, like, if you aren't like queer or have queer friends, then you're not gonna get what I'm talking about. But it is so. I think I thought that they were married as a kid. I think I fully thought that they were together as a couple because they just had that exasperated marriage dynamic that you see a lot in children's media, in 2000s children's media. So, that was what was modeled to me. And they, even as they were talking about getting with women and like looking at women, they just so perfectly encapsulated that dynamic, which I feel like is also a running theme in children's media because they'll have they'll have this duo, whether it be a duo of men or a duo of women, and they'll explicitly say that they are interested in the opposite sex, when in reality, the most important relationship they have, shown through actions and plot, is the other half of the duo. And it almost feels like they wrote this relationship so beautifully and with such clear intent, but they can't be together in an intimate sense because why? Homophobia, probably. Because they wrote it so beautifully, but then they gotta direct your attention to the fact that this half likes boobs, so they can't. Obviously, they can't be in love with their best friend, and it's like we all know what's up. As an adult for Pirate Captain and Pirate with the Scarf, I honestly could see it either way because I still see them being in a relationship, but on the other hand, also just as a pair of best friends that annoy each other to no end. I like both dynamics. Honestly, if you're not just like best friends with your romantic partner anyway, then I don't want it. If it's not just a little bit two idiots having fun with each other, then what's the point? That's not fun to watch. Then I might as well just be watching Riverdale or something. Something with real people that's boring and has drama just for the sake of having it. Because people in writers' rooms think that you're a child that needs the symbolic keys shook in front of your face in order to keep your attention with the story instead of just writing a good ass story. But I think pirate stories in general, if not explicitly said, always has this undercurrent of like, are they gay? Are they in love? Or are they just besties? Which, a nod to real history because what happens at sea stays at sea, similar to the military. What happens there stays there. I didn't just make that up. I'm not making fun of the military. Don't put words in my mouth. That is a real thing. You can look it up. Are you friends of Dorothy? Hello? Speaking of which, there's also it's a crew of men of about like 10 men, pirate captain, right-hand man, a barrage of people of men with like gout and peg legs and whatever. But then there's this one character who their name is surprisingly curvaceous pirate, and she is just very obviously a woman in drag who like not cast away, stowed away on the ship and is just pretending to be a man at sea so she doesn't get kicked off the boat. Because if you didn't know already, pirates are highly superstitious, and one of the superstitions was that a woman was bad luck to have aboard. This is a real thing. You can look it up. It was a bad thing. It was bad luck to have a woman aboard a pirate ship, or I think just ships in general, because they believed that the sea would become angry by the men's wandering eye, like not focusing on the ocean and focusing on the woman, and would create a storm that would drown them. That was the superstition. That was the belief. They also believed that if you didn't crack your eggshells in little pieces, it would attract witches. There was a reason they were pirates and not, scholars. But all kinds of people believe dumb stuff, so, It's a product of its time. And you know what? It's fun for what it is. And I'm fine with that. Scenes in particular that I liked. The scene where. The one that I'm thinking of right now is the scene where they are talking to Charles Darwin and they're discussing if they should go to the science competition and present the dodo or not. And Pirate with the Scarf has to go to Pirate Captain and be like, "Did you remember what we talked about?" Trying to like dissuade him from this idea. And he responds, "The talk where ham is really a kind of fruit?" He just stares at him like, did I'm just sat here wondering, did they have that talk? Because that seems like either he greatly misunderstood what they were talking about, or they're both dumb as shit. Which I'm fine with either one. But then the Pirate with the Scarf is like, no, the one where we're like, let's not do harebrained schemes that end in certain death anymore. Of course, he is brushed off, thus leading to the rest of the plot. But it's just an example of that little moments that are just so charmingly witty. Eat that up. It's so good. There's another one. Oh, they also have this. It was interesting because there's also of the pirates that are super popular and like successful in terms of treasure and acclaim. There's three main pirates. One, sorry, I'm moving away from the mic. One is the one with a peg leg. Okay, so let's start the other one. Black Bellamy is the main antagonist. I wouldn't say main antagonist. He's just the main bully, I would say, more like a motivator for Pirate Captain's actions. His name is Black Bellamy, and he's voiced by Jeremy Piven. I don't know who that man is. Maybe that means something to someone else. But then there is. Okay, I can't see what his name was. But there was another one with a peg leg, and he's literally the least important one because the third one is named Cutlass Liz. And she is voiced by Selma Hayek. Selma Hayek! Could you. It's interesting because she is a female pirate who has, like, clearly worked her way to the point that she's so famous that people don't even care that she's a woman. As a pirate, they're just like, yeah, she'll literally stab you and just continue on with her day. So make way for her, which I thought was interesting. Of the scale of pirate deadliness, I would say she's easily one of the best. Because although Black Bellamy is positioned, even though he's positioned to be more successful than her in terms of treasure, I would say that she's more deadly because she's the only one we see repeatedly stab and presumably uh, kill several people in the course of the movie. Queen shit. She has like 5 minutes of screen time, and half of that is not even her like in real life because she was in a dream sequence being the insurance policy for pirate captain being straight because he has a dream that he dances with her, like he wins. He dreams that he wins Pirate of the Year, and then that makes Cutlass Liz fall for him. I honestly believe that he's bi more than anything because who wouldn't be in love with Cutlass Liz? Are you insane? She's amazing. She's deadly. She's beautiful. She'd literally stab you. She's definitely a better pirate than him. So I understand it, and I'm fine with that. But also, the man roommates with Pirate with a Scarf, so I can't overlook that. The set designs really stand out in this movie in particular. The Wallace and Gromit one was fun, especially their car, but this one has like multiple pirate ships on display multiple times. It has the ocean, which by the way, the water is so hard to animate anywhere, but especially talking about stop motion, like I don't understand how they do it because it looks so it almost looks on par with the Spider-Man PS5 game. Take that as you will. I just think they're equal in quality, which is pretty high. But also, people say that that water looks weird. But like how much time are you gonna spend in the water as a Spider-Man? That seems a bit nitpicky, but I think it looks good. But yeah, the designs and details of the ships and the carvings and such. There's a lot of London architecture in the castles and the towers, and it's all very detailed. Like even the ground, the cobblestones. Like it's so much. And like I'm not saying Wallace and Gromit didn't have that level of detail, but it felt much more two dimensional, I guess is the word I'll use, because it felt like a lot of sets were reused and like there were only so many places in a small town that you can be. But for Pirates Band of Misfits, it felt like there was a whole world that they were traversing and there was much more variety in the sets that they were building in the settings that these shenanigans were taking place. Take that as you will. Uh I have to also talk about Queen Elizabeth, who is batshit insane. She's literally like, she hates pirates so much, and she yells at her staff. She eats exotic endangered animals with a society of other rich royal people. At the end of the movie, she is fighting pirate captain with two katanas and flipping like a ninja for no reason, which is not a dig. It's so fun because she really wants that dodo. Like she's just a 4'11" woman with the fire of 1,000 white suns, and it's just so fun to watch her act insane. It's even funnier to see all the reactions to her being insane. like, like the pirate captain, as she is active, like he's actively fighting for his life, and he looks at her like, "Oh my god, this woman's gonna kill me," as if that wasn't already a possibility. Back to Charles Darwin, it was also a choice to make him like such a pathetic, wet noodle, lonely, girlfriend desiring wimp. It might be Charles Darwin and it might be someone else, but I'm thinking of a scientist whose journal entries were sometimes scientific, but oftentimes were just so real in the like he would complain it's like my back hurts, my feet are burnt, I'm sunburnt, I think I'm getting gout. The birds won't stop yelling. I hate this island. I hate it. I hate it here. I think I'll go to sleep and not wake up. Science is not for me. What was I thinking? Like that sort of stuff. No one talks about, everyone wants to talk about the science of the scientist, and no one wants to talk about the fact that they hate their job just as much as anyone else. And I think we should be more honest about the human aspects of people in history, because that is what makes them interesting. Assuming, of course, that is Charles Darwin that I'm thinking about, but I could be wrong. I forgot about the monkey. Okay, so Charles Darwin, as we all know, is a scientist. And as we all don't know, in this film, he performed an experiment with a monkey and has a monkey butler. Why? Why not? The experiment, this is a real kicker. The experiment that he said he did was that he hypothesized that if you cover up the monkey's bare ass and put him in clothes and like give him the tools of a gentleman, then he will stop acting like a monkey and be a gentleman. And even more astonishingly, he was right. This monkey butler acts like the perfect gentleman, and he doesn't speak because that would be a bit too fantasy. Because we're talking about like quote unquote real people. Like they are real people, but they're not depicting real situations that happened. I don't think it's just a fun little cartoon. But the monkey doesn't talk, so he talks with cue cards, which leads to some beautiful gags. Mwah, just beautiful gags. And there's this one in particular where he falls down a trap door and the cue cards fall after him and they spell the word ah as he's falling. That's hilarious. Cuz how could you plan that? You can't. That's why it's a cartoon. That's why I like cartoons more than real live action things, because you can have stuff like that and just have it be funny and not have it be like, yeah, well, the plot said this, but then the creator said it's like, shut up. I'm not one of those wimps that care about consistency in like I care about consistency and motivations, but like sometimes you just gotta have fun. Like shelf your disbelief for a moment. Suspend your disbelief and just have a bit of fun. It's not a crime to have fun sometimes. Jeez. If you're limiting what you can watch by saying that it's quote unquote children's media, then you are missing out, my friend. Because some of these shows have the best writing. I stand by that. I'll die on that hill. Some of these children's shows have better writing than half of the stuff that I see that is marketed for adults. Because they don't have to worry about shaking the keys in adults' faces with any gratuitous violence that doesn't have a purpose or random affairs and hookups that lead nowhere and romantic couplings that don't make any sense, and they can just focus on having a good story. And if they do have romantic subplots, sometimes they suck, but sometimes they're really sweet. And, you know, nothing's perfect. They can't all be bangers. But all I'm saying is broaden your horizons a little bit. The more art you consume, the better person you are. And I do believe that. The same way that if you travel more and you open your mind to new people and cultures and experiences, the better person you'll be because you won't just live in your own bubble in Utah. No shade to Utah. But okay, I think that'll do it. A bit of a shorter episode because I'm tired. because I'm tired. That's why. And then I also have to thank you for listening. Uh, Pacific Tiger Broadcasting. Let me go on a tangent. Thank you for letting me go on a tangent. Goodbye.